Good Wednesday morning, everybody. It's time for 10 with Tom, and I hope you guys are all doing well. Hope you had a good day yesterday, and that all of this rain that we've been having isn't spoiling your recess times. Because I know even when you're stuck homeschooling and doing online learning, you need those breaks. So I hope you're getting a chance to at least get outside a little bit, get some exercise, as Pastor Allen mentioned in his devotional to the church yesterday. And so I hope things are going well. Did want to start off today by asking our question of the day. And this has been inspired by something Deb and I have been doing during this time. At Christmas time, I bought the complete set of Lost in Space TV show videos. The DVDs run for three seasons from like 65 to 67, something like that. So we're watching the episodes in black and white. It's crazy stuff, a lot of sci-fi stuff. And it was set in the 1990s, which is kind of humorous when you look back on it. But that inspired me to ask today's question. If you could take a road trip through outer space, which planet would you want to go visit? So give that some thought and respond in the comments and let me know where would you like to take an interplanetary trip to. For me, it would have to be Saturn. The reason's very simple. God liked it so good he put a ring on it. Some of you older folks might understand that one. But that's where we're at for today. And also want to remind everybody, if you're not playing Family Feud, it's not too late to get in the game. The Macaulay family seems to have their finger on the pulse of this game and doing really, really well. They're our early leaders, but it's not too late to get in. We ask the new question at 10 a.m. Every morning, and so jump in the game and have some fun with that. That's on the Village Church Youth Facebook page. Now, continuing with our story, we've been talking about Psalm 37:4 and God giving us the desires of our heart. And it started off with me wanting to be a basketball star, an Olympian, then into newspaper and radio. Well, now in my sophomore year of college, I was working in the sports information office at my university and learning about what they do and the publicity they do for the teams and working with the media. And I thought, well, that's kind of right up my alley, and it would keep me involved in the college atmosphere, and I'd like to be a college sports information director. I think that'd be a cool job. And so my junior year, when we started the school year, I found out that they had eliminated the position at our school because they ran out of funding for it. And so I approached the head of the journalism department at my school and our athletic director and said, why can't we do this as like a student internship and put this together and let students run the sports information office? And they gave it some thought, and the university approved it. And for the next 2 years, myself and a couple of other students, we were the sports information directors at our university, and I loved it. And the more I did it, the more I wanted that to be my future career. And so I began to really set my goals in that direction. But a little side story to that, at the beginning of my junior year, Walt Mueller, who some of you have met through CPYU, the resources that we send out to parents, he was my college fellowship leader, and he was also working at a church. And he came up to me one day, and also my roommate, and he said, hey, we're going to do a youth retreat in the spring. And he said, I need some extra counselors, and I wanted to know if you guys would be willing to be counselors. And so we thought about it and said, yeah, we'd love to do that. That'd be fun. And so he gave us the dates and checked the calendar, and it was after basketball season was over, all was clear. And so we're good to go. And lo and behold, our women's basketball team was on a roll. They were playing so well, and they made it to the regional playoffs, and they won regionals, and then they got to the next round, and the next round was going to be in Knoxville, Tennessee. And of course, we were all excited about our flights to Tennessee and everything. And then I realized, wait a minute, the trip to Tennessee is the same weekend as this youth retreat. Now what do I do? Because I can't be two places at once. And I thought back to something my parents had taught me very, very young, that when you give somebody your word, you honor it. Keep your commitments. And so I went in and I explained to the people in our athletic office, hey, I made this commitment months ago, not knowing that we were going to be in the playoffs, not knowing that this could be going on. And I really need to go to that. And I hate to do this to you, but I need to take this weekend off and not go to the tournament in Knoxville. And they agreed that my commitment meant something. And they graciously allowed me to opt out, even though part of me really wanted to go to Knoxville. And it was on that weekend trip that I began to really start to fall in love with working with teenagers. And so I had a glimpse of how youth ministry worked that weekend, and it turned out to be an incredible weekend. Also, our girls won that weekend in Knoxville and ended up going to the Final Four the following weekend. So off I went the following weekend on an all expenses paid trip to Wisconsin and had a wonderful time there, and my first Final Four experience, and got to actually broadcast the championship game. So that was kind of fun. So I get back to school, and I'm pursuing what I want to do, and I get to graduation, and now all of a sudden my college career's over. But it's taken me amazing places. I've been to football games all over America. I've covered bowl games. I was in the press box for the Sugar Bowl. It was my last college football game. Been to a Final Four, and I just loved where that was taking me. But I didn't have a job yet. So I went back home, and when I got home, I started going back to my home church where I grew up. And at Christmas time of my senior year, an arsonist had burnt our church down. Burned it to the ground. They never found out who it was. And so the church had to decide whether to rebuild or whether to just kind of morph into the other churches that were in our area. Well, they took a vote and they decided to rebuild. And so when I got home from graduation, we were meeting in the chapel of another church while they were tearing our church down and then rebuilding. And the youth directors at the time had just come from a church that had gone through a massive rebuilding campaign. And they went to the pastor and said, we just don't want to go through this fundraising thing again and this rebuilding thing again. We're going to resign. And so they did. And so I'd been home a couple of months, and the pastor came up to me and he said, right now there's nothing going on for our youth. And I know you're not going to be here very long, but would you be willing to just fill in and do some activities with our youth maybe once a month, just to keep them going until we can find somebody to take over? So I thought, okay, I'll do that. And so we started meeting. It was once a month, and it was a couple times a month, and it was every week. And I was really enjoying that. I was teaching Sunday school classes, helping out with Vacation Bible School, while I'm looking for a job. And I applied for sports information jobs all over the place, over 80 different schools. Wound up with only 3 interviews. And the one that was most promising was at Cal State Fullerton, out in Fullerton, California. And when I went out and I interviewed, had a wonderful interview, and as I was touring the facilities, we were in the gym there, and the guy who was doing the interview and taking me on the tour said, this is the building that they're going to be using for team handball in the Olympics. And so he said, our university will be hosting the team handball competition in the 1984 Olympics. And so part of your job is you'll be working at the Olympic venue. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's it. That's the dream. That's what I've always been waiting for. So I just had a really, really good feeling about it. And so I'm doing youth ministry as a volunteer. I'm doing some part-time writing for a local newspaper. I'm doing some stuff on the side with the radio station. But I'm really hoping that I get this job. And then I get a notice that the state of California hadn't passed a budget yet. So all the funds were frozen. And so wasn't sure where that was going to go. And I waited and I waited. And 4 months later, they informed me that I finished second. I didn't get the job. And so now here I was back at square one. So I kept doing my youth ministry stuff, all as a volunteer, still not knowing what I was going to do. I started working at a restaurant to help get some extra money. And so I'm working a little bit here, a little bit there. And one day during Vacation Bible Study, as I was going from church to my restaurant job, knowing that I still had other stuff to do later in the day with my newspaper job, I fell asleep at a red light. And the car drifted and it went underneath a cement mixer. Now, it didn't hurt me at all. I don't think the cement mixer even knew I hit him. But it woke me up. And at that point I knew, I just can't keep doing this. I've got to settle on something. So I made the decision that day that I was going to leave my job in the restaurant and I was going to go to graduate school for athletic administration. And I had my school picked out. I wanted to go to Robert Morris. And I told my boss at the restaurant they were getting ready to move to a new location. I'll stick with you until you move, and then I'm moving on. And so we're going to move on from this story tomorrow in our next 10 with Tom, and you'll find out what happened when I finally said, gotta go. And by the way, gotta go. Love you guys. Have a great day.